So why is a narcissist powerless without an empath? A narcissist is someone who mistakes control for connection. They build power from absence of empathy, reflection, and accountability, and survive by drawing life from those who feel deeply. Narcissism isn't confidence, it's collapse disguised as charisma. Behind the polished mask lies a fractured self, terrified of insignificance, endlessly hungry for admiration. Every compliment is a lifeline, every boundary feels like a betrayal. But here's the truth few acknowledge. A narcissist is powerless without an empath. They need your resonance to feel real. Your warmth becomes their mirror. Your intuition becomes their script. The empath senses the wound beneath the armour and reaches to soothe it, not realising she is feeding the very void that will drain her. This dance isn't born from malice alone, but from mutual wounding, where the narcissist hides behind grandiosity, the empath hides behind goodness. One fears being small, the other fears being selfish and not chosen. Both were taught love must be earned, one through dominance and the other through devotion. Healing begins when you stop mistaking intensity for intimacy, when you remember that compassion doesn't require self-abandonment. If you've ever felt yourself shrinking, speaking softer, thinking smaller, questioning your own eyes and ears, you may have whispered that desperate question, am I with a narcissist? You're not alone. So many who arrive at this crossroads are tender souls, deep feelers who confuse endurance for empathy, who mistake chaos for chemistry, and who thinks love means understanding harder. But this question isn't really about them. It's about you, about the ache of being unseen, unheard, and endlessly contorted in the name of connection. So before we diagnose, we must humanise, because what the world calls narcissism is at its root a wound wearing armour, a small, terrified child who learned that dominance is safer than dependence, performance safer than presence. Because what the world calls narcissism is at its root a child, a small terrified child who learned that dominance is safer than dependence and performance is safer than presence. Narcissists rarely announce themselves. They arrive as saviours, soulmates, or students of self-development. They mirror your light, repeat your language, and reflect the version of love you've longed for, at least at first. At the beginning, it feels like destiny. They see you, they get you, and they adore you. You exhale, thinking, finally, someone who meets me in my depth. But soon the mirror begins to distort. What started as admiration becomes evaluation. Your boundaries are reframed as rejection. Your feelings become too much. Your needs needy. Your truth a trigger. You find yourself walking on eggshells, editing your words, your tone, your timing, trying to avoid the next cold silence or cutting remark. They withdraw affection to regain control, then flood you with intensity when they fear losing you. This is the cycle of idealise, devalue, discard, hoover, a loop that keeps your nervous system trapped between hope and heartbreak. Over time, your body learns to live in hyper-alert. The pulse quickens, the breath shallows. You become an expert in reading moods, scanning faces, anticipating storms, a form of emotional contortion that feels like love but is really survival. Inside this dance, the empath becomes the echo, repeating apologies for wounds she didn't cause, offering softness to soften rage, believing peace can be purchased with more patience. But love is not meant to erase you, And devotion is not meant to be a disappearing act. When you notice that being love feels like performing, when connection demands the cost of your voice, it's not love, it's conditioning. You are not difficult. You are diminished. And the moment you name it, the spell begins to loosen. Living with narcissistic dynamics isn't just emotionally draining, it's neurologically disorientating. Your body, designed to be a barometer of truth, becomes a battlefield of confusion. You start doubting your perceptions, questioning whether the storm you feel inside is real enough to name. This is gaslighting, not merely manipulation, but a systematic dismantling of your inner compass. Each dismissal of your feelings whispers to your nervous system, your truth is unsafe, your needs are too much, your reality is negotiable. So your body adapts brilliantly, tragically. The fight response turns inward, self-blame, perfectionism, hypervigilance. The flight response manifests as overwork, overthinking, outrunning the ache. The freeze response appears as dissociation, the floating, the fog, the sense of watching life from behind glass. And the fawn response, the favourite of the empath, becomes the art of appeasement, pleasing your way back to safety, soothing others so they don't abandon you. But in the process, you abandon yourself. Over time, the body learns a pattern of appeasement so ingrained it feels like identity. You forget who you were before walking on eggshells. You forget what joy feels like without permission. You forget that love is supposed to land softly, not arrive with a checklist. This is where emotional recalibration enters, not as a quick fix, but as a rewiring of safety. Through trauma-informed inner child healing, you begin to anchor back into your body as home, not enemy. Relearn the difference between peace and pleasing. Rebuild trust in your inner voice, the one that always knew. You discover that your sensitivity wasn't the problem, it was your superpower, misused in survival. When the nervous system learns that truth isn't dangerous, it no longer needs to shrink or shout. It can rest, it can receive, it can finally, quietly belong. Recent research shines light on this paradox. Narcissistic individuals often show intact cognitive empathy, the ability to analyse and recognise others' emotional states, yet struggle profoundly with affective empathy, the capacity to feel with another. This empathy split means that narcissists can read you like a script but cannot meet you in the scene. They may use emotional insight as leverage, not intimacy. Empathy becomes a tool, not a tether, a means to impress, extract or control rather than connect. Under threat, their neural networks, particularly at the anterior insular and the anterior cingulate cortex, regions tied to the emotion and salience, fail to switch smoothly. The system defaults to self-focus, prioritising how things reflect on them over how things land for you. When shame or rivalry is triggered, emotional closeness can feel like danger. Their response? Criticism, withdrawal, coldness. There are nuances between grandiose and vulnerable covert narcissism. Grandiose types display overt superiority and emotional coldness. Vulnerable types show the hypersensitivity and shame proneness, but their distress remains self-referential, not empathic. Both can weaponize cognitive empathy, knowing what you feel, while blocking affective empathy, refusing to feel it with you. This is the terrain of what researchers call dark empathy, emotional intelligence deployed for self-serving ends. Their help will be strategic, generous when praised, absent when unseen. It's help that serves the image, not the intimacy. For empaths, this insight matters deeply. Your compassion fuels their persona. Your intuition writes their lines. When you stop over-functioning, when you withdraw emotional labour and install sacred boundaries, their power dissolves. Not because you are cruel, but because you are no longer the supply. How the empathy split lands in real life. Bridging the science to the soul. You've met this before, perhaps not in a textbook, but in your own body. It's the charm that curdles into critique, the "I understand you" that later becomes "you're too sensitive," the gaze that once saw your soul, now measuring your compliance. Consider modern icons of charisma who crumble behind closed doors, leaders, lovers, influencers, dazzling in public empathy, detached in private life. They can mimic concern, yet comfort has conditions. Admire me, agree with me, or I withdraw. In real life, the empathy split looks like this. They know exactly what you need to hear, but offer it only when it serves them. They can apologise eloquently, but nothing ever changes. They show empathy in public, cruelty in private. They mirror your dreams, then mock your growth. And perhaps most confusingly, they sometimes do good. They donate, volunteer, perform generosity, but it's generosity with a spotlight. Their heart opens only when the camera rolls. It's this dissonance that keeps the empath tethered. If they can be so loving sometimes, maybe it's me. But no, it's not you, it's the split. You're dealing with someone who can see emotion, not feel it. And when your warmth stops rehearsing their worth, they falter, because without your reflection, they cannot recognise themselves. It's time to reclaim the mirror and stop performing for peace. You will remember your empathy is sacred. Say it with me. My empathy is sacred. It is for connection, not control. I will not abandon myself to keep the peace. I am not too much. I am not broken. I am becoming. How to begin healing after narcissistic wounding, reclaiming safety, sovereignty, and self-trust. Healing after narcissistic conditioning is not about revenge or even understanding them. It's about returning to yourself, the parts of you silenced to stay safe. This kind of trauma doesn't just live in your mind, it lodges in your nervous system. That's why, even long after leaving, survivors often feel anxious, hypervigilant, or numb. Your body became the battleground where love and fear coexisted. So healing must begin where the harm was held, in the body. Step 1. Recalibrate the nervous system. You can't think your way out of survival mode. Through gentle, trauma-informed practices, breath work, grounding, somatic awareness, you can teach your system it's safe now. Safety is the soil from which all change grows. Step 2. Reparent the inner child. The child who learned to earn love must be shown a new way. You don't fix her, you listen to her. You become the parent who stays, the one who says you never had to perform to be worthy. Step 3. Restore sacred boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are doorways of discernment. Each no is a reclamation of time, energy and truth. It's how you tell your nervous system, I protect what I value and I am valuable. Step 4. Reclaim the voice. Narcissistic dynamics thrive on silence, gaslighting, minimizing, erasing. Healing invites you to speak again, haltingly, honestly, powerfully, not to convince others, but to hear yourself. Step 5. Reconnect to desire. When you stop over-functioning, you finally ask, what do I want? You are not too much. You are not broken. You are becoming.